Hello, I fixed my sound all by myself. I'm so proud. I am really getting better at this stuff after only 3 years, right? Only 3 years. Um, oh, tomorrow is my 3-year anniversary of when I set up my channel. Woohoo! That's exciting. I didn't know if it would last that long. So I still feel like I'm just getting started. That is amazing. 3 years. I can't believe it. Let's get rolling with this live. There's a lot of information to talk about today. I want to stay hyper focused on the Trumpstein files. So this guy, Lev Parnas, you guys have probably heard of him or seen him around. He's one of Trumpster Fire's thugs, basically, that served hard time back when Michael Cohen served hard time, and a couple of others. Rudy Giuliani served hard time, didn't he? I can't remember. I can't keep track of these thugs. There's too many of them. Anyway, this guy really did a 180 and really turned his life around. And he has a son named Aaron Parnas, who also has a YouTube channel. Lev has his own YouTube channel, and he's a guest on many other channels. And he's got a lot of insight. So I wanted to start by just reading to you, and forgive me if it's a little long and boring. I think it'll be worth it. And what I'm going to read to you is essentially just what it has on Wikipedia about this man. So he's 53 years old. Soviet-born American, former associate of Giuliani, Igor Fruman, John Solomon, a bunch of others, and can't even pronounce a lot of their names. They were involved in creating the false Biden-Ukraine conspiracy theory, which is part of the Trump-Ukraine scandal's efforts to damage Joe Biden. As President Donald Trump said he did not know Parnas nor what he was involved in, Parnas insisted Trump knew exactly what was going on. And he's got 6 kids. In October of 2021, Parnas was found guilty in U.S. federal court on 6 counts related to illegal donations to the 2020 campaign of Donald Trump. I'll do my disclaimer real quick. Everything I say is simply my opinion for the sake of hoping to start a conversation, open up a discussion, learn something, be educational. All my videos are made for YouTube. It's an infotainment platform. Please hit your like button and share, subscribe, turn on your notification bell to ring, all that good stuff. If you want to donate, there's donating apps in the description. And all contributions are much appreciated. And just watching is much appreciated. So don't feel compelled unless you want to feel compelled. Let's see. He was sentenced to 20 months in prison, 3 years of supervised release, and $2,322,500 in restitution on June 29th, 2022. So that was the day after JiZ was sentenced, June 29th. 2022. Interesting, huh? Quinky Dink. Parnas was born in Odessa, the Ukrainian Soviet Socialist Republic, in 1972 to a Jewish family. His family brought him at the age of 4 to the U.S. via the U.S. Refugee Resettlement Program, first to Detroit and later to Brooklyn. He was a student at Brooklyn College and Baruch College. He also worked at Kings Highway Realty, where he sold Trump Organization co-ops. Parnas moved to Florida in 1995. He later founded Parnas Holdings. After a failed film project, he partnered with Igor Fruman in an energy-related venture. The Miami Herald reported that he left a long trail of debts in Florida and beyond. In 2019, Parnas served as a translator for the legal case involving Dmytro Firtash, a Ukrainian oligarch with close ties to the Kremlin and self-admitted Russian mob connections, who is fighting extradition to the U.S. to face bribery charges. Firtash has been free on bail in Vienna since 2014. According to prosecutors, Parnas was paid by De Genova and Tonsing LLP as an interpreter to communicate with their client, Firtash. A Swiss lawyer for Firtash loaned $1 million to Parnas's wife in September 2019, according to federal prosecutors. The Trump Ukraine scandal, and I apologize for my braces. I'm still getting used to them. As early as April 2018, Giuliani, Parnas, and Fruman began assisting Trump's reelection efforts, and they identified Ambassador Marie Yovanovitch as being an obstacle. On January 24th, 2020, during the Trump impeachment trial, so this is a year before the insurrection, January 24th, 2020, Trump impeachment trial, ABC News published a recording that Parnas's attorney claimed was made by Fruman and shared with Parnas. The recording appears to be from a small gathering with Trump, apparently during a dinner held April 30th, 2018 at Trump Hotel in Washington. A voice identified as Parnas's is heard to say to Trump, "The biggest problem there, I think, is where we need to start, is we got to get rid of the ambassador." Late in 2018, Giuliani dispatched the two to Ukraine to search for damaging information on Trump's U.S. political rivals. According to the New York Times, quote, their mission was to find people and information that could be used to undermine the special counsel's investigation and also to damage former Vice President Joseph R. Biden. Both were at the center of the pro-Trump forces' push to remove Ambassador Yovanovitch because her loyalty to Trump was deemed insufficient. It's like having a vitamin insufficiency, huh? It was reported the two also pressed for support for allegations that former Ukrainian officials schemed to manipulate the 2016 election to support Hillary Clinton by revealing adverse information about Paul Manafort, chairman of Trump's campaign, which became a central element in Mueller's special counsel investigation. Over the course of a year, beginning in 2018, Parnas and Fruman assisted Giuliani and his associates to contact, and I might have to sneeze, I apologize in advance. My allergies are starting to act up. Let me take a sip of coffee and hopefully I won't sneeze it out. Yeah, I might have to start taking my allergy meds. I haven't needed them in months. Let's see. Where was I? Assisted Giuliani and his associates to contact Ukrainians who were working on finding alleged corruption surrounding Hunter Biden and Burisma. These included Yuri Lusenko, then the prosecutor general of Ukraine, who was crucial to Giuliani's efforts to produce damaging information. Viktor Shokin, a former prosecutor general of Ukraine, was part of this group. So this is really interesting to me too, because it's like leading up to Russia invading Ukraine, attacking Ukraine. Let's see. In late September 2019, the whistleblower report was released, which characterized Parnas and Fruman as two associates of Mr. Giuliani. On September 30th, 2019, Adam Schiff of the Democrat House Intelligence Committee requested documents from Parnas. Parnas was initially represented by John M. Dowd, who was Trump's personal attorney during the part of the Mueller investigation in 2017-18. Trump consented to this representation as evidenced in an email from White House counsel Jay Sekulow to the president. Parnas later disclosed that they met with Dowd in Dowd's home and conducted a conference call with Sekulow and Giuliani. According to revelations disclosed on the Rachel Maddow show by Parnas in 2020, they decided to claim immunity and not cooperate on the basis that Giuliani was the president's attorney, protected by attorney-client privilege, and they were working under the direction of Giuliani. On October 7th, 2019, Dowd informed the Miami Herald, oh, how's my hair? It's terrible, isn't it? I should put my hat on. Let's see, the Miami Herald newspaper that there would be no cooperation. Mike Pompeo made a similar announcement, and State Department employee Charles Kent failed to appear before the House Intelligence Committee. I'm going to just grab my hat real quick. I might need two hands to do it. I don't want to lose my place. Let's see. Relieve everyone of the bad hair situation. Does that shadow my face too much, though? I'm not trying to hide. Well, I am trying to hide my bad hair, but I don't want to hide my face unless it's a bad face, right? I try never to show my bad face. I try not to have a bad face, but of course we all do, right? Okay. Kent failed to appear before the House Intelligence Committee. On October 8th, 2019, White House counsel Pat Cipollone issued a document that confirmed that Trump and his administration would not cooperate with the impeachment inquiry in any manner, arrest and prosecution. Parnas and Fruman were arrested on the evening of October 9th, 2019 at Dulles International Airport and charged with planning to direct funds from a foreign government, quote, to U.S. politicians while trying to influence U.S.-Ukraine relations. They had one-way tickets to Frankfurt, Germany, and were reported to be going to Vienna, Austria. The head of the New York FBI office described the investigation as, quote, about corrupt behavior, deliberate lawbreaking, end quote. The charges alleged Parnas and Fruman were involved in the campaign to oust Ambassador Yovanovitch from her post and have her recalled. In 2018, the operation included Parnas and Fruman donating funds and pledging further additional monies to an unnamed congressman who was Mitch McConnell. Just kidding. Funny, not funny, right? Unnamed congressman who was allegedly recruited for the campaign to oust her. The funds were allegedly funneled through a shell company, Global Energy Producers, and some violated campaign limits. Parnas and Fruman were also charged with unlawful campaign contributions based on campaign finance filings. Former Congressman Pete Sessions, Republican from Texas, was identified as the unnamed recipient. In 2018, as the chairman of the House Rules Committee, Sessions wrote a letter to Secretary of State Mike Pompeo saying that Ambassador Jovovich should be fired for privately expressing disdain for the Trump administration. The House Intelligence Committee converted their request for documents from Parnas and Fruman into subpoenas on October 10th, 2019. The New York field office of the FBI, along with SDNY prosecutors, were conducting a criminal investigation of Giuliani's relationship with Parnas and Fruman. Giuliani was at the time under investigation for potentially violating lobbying laws, but that investigation ended without charges. Parnas dismissed Dowd and retained Joseph Bondi, who announced on November 5th, 2019, that Parnas is now prepared to comply with requests for records and testimony from congressional impeachment investigators. On November 22nd, 2019, Parnas stated to CNN that he would be willing to testify to Congress regarding his Republican Congressman Devin Nunes's, Giuliani's, and Trump's role in the Ukraine affairs. Documents released to a watchdog group showed communication took place between Giuliani and Pompeo shortly before Ambassador Jovovich was removed from her post. Memos from Giuliani to Pompeo regarding a January 23rd, 2019 meeting with Ukraine's former prosecutor General Viktor Shokin were included. Giuliani noted that Igor Fruman and Lev Parnas were present at the meeting. Shokin was ousted from his job in 2016 because of his lack of attention to corruption cases. On January 20th, 2020, Bondi filed a motion seeking the appointment of a special prosecutor outside the Justice Department for U.S. Attorney General William Barr to recuse himself. The U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York, Jeffrey Berman, recused himself in the Michael Cohen case, owing to his political support of Trump. Trump reportedly asked then acting U.S. Attorney General Matthew Whitaker to override Berman's recusal and to prosecute Cohen. To date, Berman has not recused himself in the Parnas case, despite similar potential conflicts of interest as in the Cohen case. Additionally, Berman worked at the same law firm as Giuliani. In a May 2021 letter to federal judge J. Paul Oetken, Bondi wrote that he had seen a government chart detailing the extent to which SDNY investigators had acquired communications of parties related to the Parnas case, and asserted the evidence seized likely includes email, text, and encrypted communications that are either non-privileged or subject to an exception to any potentially applicable, I can't talk. Let me try that again. Subject to an exception to any potentially applicable privilege between inter alia Rudolph Giuliani, Victoria Toensing, the former president, former Attorney General William P. Barr, high-level members of the Justice Department, presidential impeachment attorneys Jay Sekulow, Jane Raskin, and others, Senator Lindsey Graham, Congressman Devin Nunes, and others, relating to the timing of his arrest and indictment of the defendants as to prevent potential disclosures to Congress in the first impeachment inquiry of then President Donald J. Trump. Parnas asked for the charges to be dismissed, claiming that the Trump administration has prosecuted him to protect Trump against congressional investigations. But a federal judge rejected this claim as a, quote, conspiracy theory Parnas was subsequently convicted in March 2022 and sentenced to 20 months in prison. Interesting, because I want to say that Jean-Luc Brunel passed away in February of 2022. And then we know that Jiz Max was convicted towards the end of June 2022. And then Ivana fell down a flight of stairs 2 weeks and 2 days later on July 14th. Yeah, July 14th, 2022. And then I'll stop there. I'll just stop there. Those are really important things, I think. So all those happened in 2022. So Parnas was convicted March 2022 and sentenced to 20 months in prison. MSNBC interview. In early January 2020, an attorney for Parnas turned over photos, text messages, and thousands of pages of documents to the House Permanent Subcommittee on Investigations. On January 15th and 16th, 2020, MSNBC. So this is right before the COVID outbreak, basically. MSNBC aired segments of an interview of Parnas conducted by Rachel Maddow. This was Parnas's first television interview regarding his involvement in the Trump-Ukraine scandal. I just had a wild thought. This is crazy. Talk about conspiracy theories. Could the COVID outbreak have been a distraction from all of this? I don't know. It's a question. Just asking a question. Not saying that it is, because I really don't know. Let's see. This was Parnas's first television interview regarding his involvement with the Trump-Ukraine scandal. Some of Parnas's claims were supported by documentary evidence released by the House that same week. Elements of the interview, including timelines that were cross-checked by some news organizations against event records, such as the date Pence announced he would not be going to Ukraine, White House Press Secretary Stephanie Grisham, Pence spokesman Mark Short, and a Justice Department spokesman stressed the fact that Parnas was under indictment and therefore was not credible. Trump repeated the claims he did not know Parnas and denied he was aware of a letter by Giuliani to the Ukrainian president wherein Giuliani claimed that he was acting on the behalf of Trump. Parnas made many claims in the interview. Trump knew exactly what was going on, and Parnas's efforts were coordinated with Trump's attorney, Rudy Giuliani. He also said that, quote, Attorney General Barr was basically on the team, end quote, and conferred with Giuliani frequently. He also said Trump's counsel, Jay Sekulow, was also aware. However, he quote, wanted to stay away from all of this stuff involving Ukraine, end quote. Also said that Parnas met in Ukraine with a top Ukrainian official and informed him that he was speaking on Trump's behalf. Parnas warned that all aid to Ukraine, as well as Pence's attendance at the inauguration of the new Ukrainian president, were contingent upon an announcement that Biden was being investigated. And he said Pence was, quote, in the loop and knew the reason his trip to Ukraine was canceled after the Ukrainian government failed to comply with Trump's demand as communicated by Parnas. He also said the motivation to get rid of Ambassador Yovanovitch was to obtain negative information about Joe Biden, specifically former prosecutor general of Ukraine, Yuri Lucentco claimed he would deliver evidence of improper behavior about B after a decision was made about Madam. I think B is Biden, code for Biden. This particular claim was backed by March 22nd, 2019 text from Lucentco that was released by the House and discussed in the interview. Trump removed Yovanovitch from her post in May 2019. Parnas described a dinner with President Trump where the ambassador was discussed and Trump said to fire her. This claim was substantiated further by an audio recording of this meeting released on January 24th, 2020. Ukrainian businessman Firtash claimed he could help discredit the Mueller investigation if charges against him were dropped. Parnas claimed he met Congressman Devin Nunes several times at the Trump Hotel, but that most of his interactions were with Nunes's aide, Derek Harvey. Parnas's claim that, quote, they were involved in getting all of this stuff on Biden, end quote, was substantiated by records released by the House after the interview. Former Energy Secretary Rick Perry, who did attend the Ukrainian president's inauguration, informed the Ukrainians that there would be no aid unless an announcement was made to investigate Biden. Parnas was initially pleased to have Trump's former advisor, Dowd, represent him and believed that it demonstrated he had the president's support. However, hey, Fred, what's up? Hola. I couldn't chat and finally found that I had been unsubscribed. Oh, my goodness. Well, I'm glad that I only have it set at 5 minutes because I normally set it at 20 minutes, that you need to be subscribed for 20 minutes. So that's a good reason to change it to like 1 minute or 1 second. That's crazy that you were unsubscribed. Wow. Dang, the shadow banners. How are you, sir? How's your day going? This is really fascinating to me. I hope that it is interesting to other folks as well. I know it's a little bit dry, but this guy Parnas, he's got quite a story to tell. And he's such a thug of a character, but like he used to be such a thug of a character. He's really turned his life around, which amazes me when people do that. You know, it's so hard for the tiger to change their stripes, if not impossible. But it seems like he actually did. He's got he has impressed me, and I didn't know his history, so I just found out his history. And this is all just very rich for me to learn about all this stuff because I was really ignorant about a lot of this. I don't know. I guess I'm a grown up now or something, right? Just finished my homework, physical therapy, back to physical therapy in office, manana. Oh, you're awesome that you're doing your homework. That's hard to do, isn't it? Good for you. Yeah, you're taking good care of yourself. I'm so happy to hear that. Let's see, where was I with Parnas was initially pleased. Okay, I think I read that part. To have Trump's former advisor, Dowd, represent him and believed that it demonstrated he had the president's support. However, it became clear Parnas's interests were not in mind when Dowd visited Parnas in prison. Parnas claimed Dowd, quote, basically started talking to me like a drill sergeant and telling me, giving me orders like, you know, be a good boy, like, you know, end quote. Can you imagine, Fred? This is how we're all going to be talked to if Donnie gets his way with this country, huh? It's at such a dangerous precipice, in my opinion. Yesterday was the 105th anniversary of women's suffrage. Crazy. One of the significant documents discussed during the interview was Giuliani's letter to President-elect Zelensky that was released by the House Intelligence Committee. The letter was seen as evidence that President Trump knew of his attorney's activities on his behalf. Giuliani wrote that he represented the private interests of President Trump with his, quote, knowledge and consent, end quote. The letter was presented to the U.S. Senate during the impeachment trial of President Trump. Hellaby, what's up? Nice to see you. Thanks for saying hi. And let me highlight Fred's second comment so that I get in the habit of highlighting. I'm just so happy to be able to come on live. First, my internet was down, so I had to push my live out for an hour. And then I didn't have any sound. And so that put me back a little bit further. But here we are. We're doing it. And as dry as this material might be, I think it's integral to understanding where we're at today, right now, with our international global politics and the sexism, right? Seriously. The letter was presented to the U.S. Senate during the impeachment trial of President Trump. When asked by Rachel Maddow, and you know how much Trump loves Rachel Maddow, we are working primarily on leg strength and range of motion. Parkinson's stinks. Well, you're mastering it, man. I am really happy for you. That is really rough. That's so cool that you're doing it. More power to you. Let's see. When asked by Rachel Maddow, Parnas claimed that his decision to speak out was made to protect this country from President Trump and his allies, stating that they are all part of one large cult, which is exactly what I believe. Absolutely one large cult. I think I put it in my video yesterday, Fred, about how the Trump Tower has 58 floors, but they say that it has 68 floors because it goes from, I think, 57 to 68. So it skips 10 floors so that they can pretend it's 10 floors taller. But the mind effery of that cult leader type of mentality where you're just messing with people's heads and manipulating reality and what people think is reality so that people can't see the forest through the trees. You know, Ivanka's bedroom was on that 68th floor, the bedroom that she looked so spooked in when she was looking at the bed. And then she said, "Oh, look out the window. We're on the 68th floor." And I did not know this ridiculous crap about the skipping the 10 floors until I think the day before yesterday. I just learned about that. So Trump offices and housing is the top 3 floors. Maybe it skips from I'm not sure exactly the 10 that it skips, but it's somewhere in the 50s to the 60s. Because I think he has the 66th, 67th, and 68th floor. So maybe it's at 55 that it jumps to 65 or something. Or maybe at 56 it jumps to 66. I'll figure that out. Anna Bees, what's up? Hey, Jazz, Helby, Fred, and everyone. So nice to see you all. Thanks for coming in and saying hi. I've got 2 of my 3 puppy dogs in here. So yeah, this Lev Parnas and his son, Aaron Parnas, who has a really awesome YouTube channel. Lev has his own YouTube channel called Lev Remembers. Okay, included text messages with Robert Hyde. Included within the documents released by the House in January 2020 were the text messages between Parnas and Robert F. Hyde, a Republican candidate for Congress in Connecticut. The messages indicated that Ambassador Yovanovitch was under surveillance and implied she was in possible danger. During the interview with Madoff, Parnas largely discounted this possibility and said Hyde drank a lot. However, during her testimony, the ambassador stated that she was advised to leave Ukraine on, quote, the next plane, end quote, in April 2019 because her security was at risk. Madoff played clips of this testimony during the airing of the interview. The FBI finally visited Hyde to make inquiries on January 16th, 2020, the day after the first segment of the interview aired, even though they reportedly had the messages in hand since Parnas's arrest in October of 2019. Ukrainian authorities announced they were conducting an investigation that same day, and Hyde claimed he was getting the information he was giving to Parnas from a Belgian citizen named Anthony D. Caluwe, Caluwe. He had met at GOP functions. Initially, De Caluwe denied any involvement and later claimed that it was all a joke after evidence was released by the House that supported Hyde's assertions. Kind of reminds me of Trumpster Fire saying, he was being sarcastic when he said that he'd end the war in a day. I was being sarcastic, idiot. Right. And I mean, you can always say that. I was just joking, totally joking. An official from the DOJ attributed the delay between when they received the messages and finally acted to Parnas, and claimed they were unable to read the messages contained within Parnas's iPhone until recently. Parnas's attorney, in turn, wrote that the DOJ sat on the documents since December 3rd, 2019, when the messages from the iPhone were first extracted. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo issued a statement a full 2 days after the texts were revealed and stated, to the best of his recollection, never heard any of this. To the best of his recollection, which is, fancy terminology for I don't remember. He announced he would look into it, but also stated he didn't think anything would come of the investigation. January 16th, 2020, CNN interview. Parnas was also interviewed by Anderson Cooper on CNN on January 16th, 2020. The primary different claims made by Parnas during this interview were as followed. Here, let me do another highlight on the comment there that Annabee's made. The first effort to effect a quid quo pro with former Ukrainian President Petro Poroshenko, I can't say this name right, Poroshenko. Is that close? Poroshenko was asked to support Trump's efforts in exchange for a meeting with the U.S. president in the White House and other official support of Ukraine. In his interview with Madoff, Parnas already said Ukraine would face losing support and that Vice President Pence would not attend the inauguration of the newly elected Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky unless he announced an investigation into Biden. Yeah. I think that's blackmail, isn't it? That's blackmail. In the CNN interview, Parnas added that the announcement needed to be made within 24 hours or there would be no chance of any White House visits while Trump was in office. Parnas said there was no other reason than winning the 2020 election and another 4 years. When Cooper asked Parnas if Pence knew what Giuliani and his associates were planning, Parnas acknowledged that he was unsure whether or not Pence knew, quote, everything we were doing, end quote. In a meeting with Ukrainian officials, Parnas said that his voice and authority was that of POTUS. That's the President of the United States, for anyone who doesn't know shorthand POTUS. Parnas said, quote, "I thought they were going to shut me up and make me look like the scapegoat," end quote. Parnas said he spoke to Giuliani every day, first thing in the morning. Giuliani's rebuttal, of course. On January 20th, 2020, Giuliani appeared on Fox News's The Ingraham Angle. She's so obnoxious, Laura Ingraham. The worst. Although I have seen her stand up to the Trumpster fire on occasion, which impresses me, especially coming from her, because she's such a sycophant. The Ingraham Angle and claimed he was, quote, heartbroken by the, quote, stupid lies told by Parnas over the previous week. Giuliani said he was very close with Parnas, even godfather to his child, and very disappointed. He said Parnas was just trying to avoid jail and was telling lies like Michael Cohen. Laura Ingraham sucks. So you're a fan too, Annabise? But did you see that one interview that I'm talking about that was a month or two ago where she was totally standing up to Trumpster fire? I can't remember off the top of my head what it was about. I'm thinking it was probably something to do with the little e-files, right? If you remember, put it in the chat if you want. And we could always ask AI the one thing Laura Ingram's, going to write that down, stood up to Trump about. See if AI remembers. I bet it does. He also said he would not get into a point-by-point rebuttal, but I just have fun with that. Point-by-point rebuttal of all the claims Parnas made, but would testify to all the facts if he was called as a witness. He welcomed an opportunity to testify where he would inform everyone about, quote, unbelievable amount of corruption that went on between the Democratic Party and Ukraine, end quote. Giuliani stressed two areas in which he stated that Parnas had lied. I think I remember something about her being on the right side. Yeah, it was phenomenal. They were sitting face to face. It was probably about 2 months ago, I'm thinking. And Trumpster fire was talking crazy talk right to her face, and she just like flung it right back at him. She was like, "What are you talking about, crazy dude?" During a White House party, Trump did not, and then she went back to her old ways, of course, after that day. And even just after that confrontation, like she didn't keep it up, I don't think, for the whole interview even. But she did at one point in the interview show quite the backbone, and I was very proud of her. And I didn't recognize her at all. I was like, is that really her? Aliens must have taken over. During a White House party, Trump did not, quote, deputize Parnas as a, quote, representative. In 2018, Devin Nunes did not travel to Vienna to meet with former Ukrainian prosecutor Viktor Shokin, and his passport proves that. Although people have 2 passports, come on. Giuliani stressed that, or even more than 2, multiple passports. Giuliani stressed that owing to these 2 lies, that nothing in the 2 Parnas interviews should be believed. Giuliani is not such a credible witness himself. Giuliani also insisted that Parnas was wrong when he implicated William Barr, right, because William Barr, full of integrity. Not. He further stated he never spoke to Barr about it and that it was wrong to accuse Barr of being part of it. When asked if he directed the surveillance of the ambassador to Ukraine, Giuliani replied, "I can definitely tell you I didn't." Man, Trumpster Fire stabbed all these guys in the back, basically slit all their throats, too, metaphorically speaking. Campaign funding. Some of the money to potentially fund efforts by Giuliani, Parnas, and Fruman appears to have come from a Republican donor and Trump supporter, Charles Gucciardo. Gucciardo's attorney claimed his client's $500,000 was an investment made in 2018 with Parnas's firm Fraud Guarantee. So that's the name of the firm, which is hilarious. It's like a guaranteed fraud. Parnas's firm was called Fraud Guarantee. Too funny. All these people are scumbags. But Parnas has come around. This guy is amazing. The guy that's in the thumbnail. Did I just screw everything up? This thing is so sensitive. Okay. Let's see. Fraud Guarantee. These funds but yeah, I agree. Anna Bees. It is funny, isn't it? Fraud Guarantee. Guarantee fraud. These funds in turn were claimed to be a retainer fee from Fraud Guarantee to Giuliani. According to Giuliani, he was, quote, ramping up the business. Harry Sargent III, a billionaire Republican donor, helped bankroll the travels of Parnas and Fruman, thereby supporting their overall efforts to pressure Ukraine to help with Trump's re-election effort. An attorney representing Sargent said the funds were loans. Dmitro Ferdish's Swiss attorney also described a $1 million payment made to Parnas's wife as being a loan. Reporters in a Bloomberg News article wrote that it was unlikely President Trump paid for Giuliani's, Parnas's, and Fruman's expensive travels and stays at expensive hotels. Therefore, monies and loans to fund their work in Ukraine on his behalf to win a federal election appear to be reportable campaign contributions. Further, any foreign contributions would have been illegal. Bloomberg News is named for and partly owned by Michael Bloomberg, who was seeking the Democratic nomination to run against President Trump. Possible Trump meeting. On January 24th, 2020, ABC News released an audio recording that appeared to be a conversation between Parnas and President Trump. The recording may have been made at a dinner gathering held on April 30th, 2018 at the Trump International Hotel. This isn't too much longer. I know it's pretty dry, but I think it's important to kind of lay a foundation. On the recording, President Trump can be heard ordering someone who may have been Johnny DeStefano to fire Ambassador Yovanovitch. Trump's order came after Parnas said something to the effect that it was important to get rid of her first. Parnas's attorney appeared on the Rachel Maddow show that same evening and stated the tape was made by Fruman and given to Parnas. Parnas, in turn, uploaded it to his document cloud. Parnas's attorney stated that Parnas didn't provide the tape to ABC News. Apparently, the ABC News article prompted Parnas to search his document cloud, where he located the full tape that is over an hour long. Parnas's attorney stated the whole tape has been given to the House Intelligence Committee. The tape was made public on January 25th. Trump is heard discussing golf with Jack Nicklaus III, grandson of golfer Jack Nicklaus, and trade deals and steel quotas with Barry Zeckelman of Zeckelman Industries. At the invitation of committee Democrats on March 20th, 2024, Parnas testified before the Republican-controlled House Oversight Committee investigation into the Biden family that was pursuing the impeachment of President Joe Biden. Parnas testified in part, the American people have been lied to by Donald Trump, Rudy Giuliani, and various cohorts of individuals in government and media positions. They created falsehoods to serve their own interests, knowing it would undermine the strength of our nation. Congressman Pete Sessions, then Congressman Devin Nunes, Senator Ron Johnson, and many others understood they were pushing a false narrative. The same goes for John Solomon, Sean Hannity, and media personnel, particularly with Fox News, who used this narrative to manipulate the public ahead of the 2020 elections. Sadly, they are still doing this today as we approach the 2024 elections. The only information ever pushed on the Bidens and Ukraine has come from one source and one source only: Russia and Russia agents. Russia and Russian agents. Is the video when they are all sitting at dinner and whoever had their phone recording the dinner? That's a good question, Annabise. I am not sure. I do not know. Does anyone know? Lev Parnas lives with his wife and 5 of his 6 children in Boca Raton, Florida. Boca Raton is pretty close to Mar-a-Lago. Also, it's where that small plane crashed that had the granddad and the dad and the granddaughter. And the granddad had built up that big fiber optics company, multi-billion-dollar fiber optics company for 40 years, and then his son was inheriting it, and then their plane crashed right there in Boca Raton, right down the street from the flagship of their giant company, their little mom and pa multi-billion-dollar family company. I'm trying to remember their last name, but I don't want to get it wrong, so I'll just keep reading. He is the father of journalist Lev Parnas. So Lev Parnas is the father of journalist Lev Parnas, who has his own YouTube channel. I really like him, his work. Philanthropy. Parnas has contributed to Ukrainian Jewish charities and causes. He is on the board of Ukrainian Jewish charity Friends of Anatevka. That Boca Raton family, that's bothering me that I can't remember their last name. I want to say it starts with an S. 5 letters, maybe 6. We'll look it up later. Let's see. It's like playing charades. Charades in my head. He is on the board of the Ukrainian Jewish charity Friends of Anatevka, founded by Ukrainian Rabbi Moshe Asman. Sorry if I completely hacked that up. Mosh Reuven Asman, to provide a refuge for Ukrainian Jews affected by the Russian military intervention in Ukraine. Parnas and Fruman visited Israel in the summer of 2018 as part of a delegation led by former Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee and Sarah Huckabee, his disgusting daughter. I don't know how you retain all the information that you do. Well, thanks for the compliment, Annabise. The more often I do my lives, the better I am at it. So that's one of my motivations, to try to keep myself sharp. But yeah, that family just really stands out to me, especially when I realized how close they were to Mar-a-Lago, and that was right around the same time as that other family of 6 that crashed their airplane near the border of New York State, Connecticut, and Massachusetts. Remember that family? And that was like 2 doctors, the mom and the dad, and then the son and the daughter, who were both very successful, and both of their fiancés who were also very successful. Very, very sad. When all the planes were crashing. And did you see, Annabise or anybody else, how in the trailer for South Park, they have like 4 midair collisions of planes just crashing into each other, much like the Black Hawk chopper in the American Airlines commercial jet that fell into the Potomac River when they crashed near the Reagan National Airport at the end of January. So I'm not the only one that thinks that was, a conspiracy, basically. It appears that the South Park creators might think so too. I'm sure a lot of people might think so. And let's see, where was I? Mike Huckabee, and joined by Anthony Scaramucci, another one who turned himself around a full 180, but then kind of is the tiger that doesn't change his stripes. But, I'll give anybody the benefit of the doubt if they're trying. So far, Anthony Scaramucci has kind of gone back and forth, but I'm still giving him the benefit of the doubt. Michael Cohen, I don't think I can give the benefit of the doubt to anymore, not after all the lies he told Tara Palmieri about the little e-files. That was just absolute crap. That whole thing with Jane Doe or Katie Johnson, that whole thing was just nuts. The thing I was talking about so much last week. I do remember that crash. Yeah. The family, the granddaughter was like 17. I think they were flying up to Gainesville for her to check out the university, and it was the end of her junior year of high school. And then the dad had just been appointed like president or CEO of the company, and the granddad was flying the airplane. I think he was 81. I think it was the granddad who was flying the airplane when it crashed. But yeah, the where it crashed was like right near where the flagship of their company headquarters was. Incidentally, interestingly enough. So Anthony Scaramucci, the group met with U.S. Ambassador to Israel, David M. Friedman, and Benjamin Netanyahu's son, Yair Netanyahu. While in Israel, Parnas and Friedman also met with oligarch Ior Kolomoisky, a wealthy Ukrainian oligarch and longtime mentor and patron of President of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky. I think that's the whole thing. Was that enough? Was that long enough? I'm so sorry to bore you with that if it was boring for you. It surprisingly isn't boring for me. Like I said, I kind of feel like that's evidence that I'm finally a grown-up, right? As I approach 60. It's never too late. Let's see. I'm just looking at some of the notes there. Yeah, what is the name of that company? It's driving me crazy now. The company was like Intelcom. Let's see what the small private plane crash in Boca Raton with a 17-year-old daughter, a father, and the grandfather. Stark, the Stark family. I said S and I said 5 letters, didn't I, Annabese? Stark family. I nailed it. I'm just so proud of myself because, yeah, names are not my strong suit. So Brooke Stark was the 17-year-old. Stephen Stark was the 54-year-old, and then the grandfather, Robert Stark. So they were flying a Cessna, and they were from Delray Beach. And the name of the company, the Stark family company, is what? See, both that plane crash and the one up in upstate New York that was near the border of New York, Connecticut, and Massachusetts, both of those families seem like they had companies that really compete with Big E's types of companies. Same with the couple that was on that freaking helicopter that fell apart over the Hudson River with their 3 kids. The couple that were like super high up executives for the cement industries in Belgium. But yeah, the Stark company, they're kind of secretive about Robert Stark and Stephen Stark. So Robert Stark is the one who started it, and Stephen Stark was the one that was just named Robert Stark and Stephen Stark's company in Boca Raton, Intel Communication. Let's see. They're very, very secretive about the name of the business. I had to do so much digging to find the name of that business. Who are the Stark family in Boca Raton? And yeah, it's just weird. It says their names and that's it. Who is the leader of the Stark family? And then that's going on about a bunch of other stuff. Let's see. Was it April of 2025? Let's see if I can find the name of the company. Like I said, I had to do so much digging to find the name of the company before. I'll be surprised if I can find it quickly and easily, but maybe it looks like it might be in here. 1 second. That is wild if it doesn't even have the name of his company here in the obituary. Like I said, they're very secretive about it. I want to say it's TechCom or something like that. Just it's a very bland name. But here it is, US Info Com Incorporated. So that's the company that he founded in 1983. US Info Com Incorporated, 83. And then I just want to look up the address of it real quick. US Infocom Incorporated, Boca Raton. It's a nationally focused IT services company specializing in telecommunications and data network support and deployment. And I just wanted the address of it. Because like I said, it was very close to where the plane crashed. Headquarter flagship office in Boca Raton. So it's Military Trail Road, I think. Let's see. Just, yeah, North Military Trail. So that's the road that the company is on, and that's the road where the plane crashed. So I thought that was pretty wild too. Sad, extremely sad. I mean, whatever the cause of the plane crash was, it's extremely sad. But it's even sadder if it's sabotage. I mean, that's just effing crazy. And if when these sabotages happen and children are part of the sabotage, it's just insane, isn't it? No more coffee. Let me see what you're saying here. Yes, you did say S in 5 letters. Let's see. That's why I like tuning in. Always informative. Oh, Helby, you're so sweet. Thank you, honey. I mean, I know that it's not always so exciting. I do try to keep it interesting, but mostly I'm just trying to keep it interesting to myself, because if I'm trying to make it interesting for the audience, then I'm going to lose track of what's really important. So if other people find it important, that's great. And if not, so be it. I mean, I'm really just trying to kind of sharpen my own skills and instincts with learning about our political climate, because I feel like it's so imperative right now. It's at this tipping point where our democracy is almost gone. Like, some would argue that it's already gone, but right now women still have the right to vote, just as 1 mile marker. And if you didn't hear me say it earlier in this video, yesterday I think was the 105th anniversary of the women's right to vote. And then we've got these rat bastards trying to take it away. Like, sickening, absolutely sickening. I think all of these unfortunate accidents are proof that little t is compromised, and the Russian mafia are the ones carrying out these evil acts. Well, and things like the governor's mansion with the firebombs in it, you know, all of these crashes, all of these live shooter events. I mean, the helicopter crashes, the plane crashes. It just seems like mass chaos, just more than ever. You know, so many first responders dying. It's just not normal. And it's kind of become the norm, but it's not normal. It's only on little t's watch. Is absolutely nuts. Did you talk about the mass shooting at the Catholic Church school in Minneapolis today? 14 shot and 2 kids passed. I have not, Fred Field. Thank you for including that in the chat. It's so sad and so overwhelming. A trans girl was the shooter and unalived himself. Well, that really makes me think even more so that it's a setup by the Trumpster Fire party. It's like, oh yeah, those crazy trans people, you know, they're so dangerous, always shooting everybody. Milky, come here, baby. So I don't know. It just seems like every single day, these mass shootings. It's absolutely insane. And I know that we have a lot of them historically. That was the one thing with COVID. The mass shootings really took a nosedive. That was one of the positive things about the whole pandemic. Fred, no, I didn't know about this. Was it a child shooter? Anna, I have not heard. Was a student. Yeah. Super sad. So let me look at my notes. There was a lot more information that I wanted to share. You know, the YMCA song that Trumpster Fire is always playing during his rallies and speeches and campaign events. We all know that it's kind of like a gay anthem. Not kind of a gay anthem. It is the gay anthem. I'm thinking he knows that too. And it's like an inside kind of, not, I don't even know if it's an inside joke or just like a dog whistle. You know what I'm trying to say? I think he does know. I don't think he's ignorant to that. I mean, I think he's ignorant, but I don't think he's ignorant to that. It's just something I thought of in the last day or so. Let's see. The mortgage fraud that Trump is trying to nail Letitia James for, and this other black woman, Cook, I forget her first name, the one who's part of like the Federal Reserve. Mortgage fraud is pretty much exactly what he was prosecuted for with the 34 felonies that he was found guilty of. Basically inflating the square footage and thus the value of his property there in New York. Just like saying that it's 68 floors tall, the Trump Tower, when it's actually 58 floors. Just because you're calling the 58th floor the 68th floor, that doesn't make it 68 floors tall. It's still 58 floors, you freaking goofball. Dang. But this is what I love about the Trumpster Fire being such a freaking Trumpster Fire. First of all, you know that he calls himself the Trumpster. That's just brilliant, right? He absolutely tied himself to Alex Acosta and that sweetheart deal with little E when he then appointed Alex Acosta to be his Secretary of Labor in 2018 in his first administration. Had he not appointed Alex Acosta to be his Secretary of Labor in 2018, it wouldn't tie him so effing directly to little E and his crimes. So for that, we can thank him, you freaking rat bastard from hell. Just you do you, boo, right? I mean, is that so funny that he basically tied himself to that freaking bomb, to that anchor, to that anvil? You know, I was saying last week how I keep thinking of Trumpster Fire as like the Roadrunner in the Roadrunner cartoon, running off the road that no longer exists under his Roadrunner feet. And he's like a mile or two out over the canyon. And he still hasn't noticed. He still hasn't looked down to notice because, you know, until he looks down and notices, the gravity doesn't kick in. But then when it does, he's got a freaking rope tied to his ankle with an anvil attached to the rope. So not only is he going to fall into the crevasse, then he's going to hit himself in the head with that freaking anvil. I guess that anvil, instead of saying Acme on it, it could just say Acosta. I'm so funny. I'm cracking myself up. Stop me, you guys. I can't laugh at my own jokes. Yeah, our children have to worry all the time if they're going to come home every day. I know. And, you know, my husband goes to open shooter trainings all the time. All the time. He keeps his skills very sharp for that. Nuts. She started by shooting through the stained glass windows from outside during back to school mass. 2 doors blocked with 2x4s. That's so creepy. That's so creepy. Yeah, it reminds me of the shootings in, was it North Carolina or South Carolina? The white kid who shot all the black people during their the Bible study that they had invited him to. And then the white cops bought him food at Burger King on the way to jail. Yeah. Yeah. So why does Marco Rubio have 11 jobs in Trump's cabinet? I bet he gets paid for all 11 of those jobs. And do you think he's really doing all 11 of those jobs? Because shouldn't each one of those jobs keep him really busy? Does he have clones? Let's see. What else do I have in here? Been for an hour and 15 minutes. So we've been on for an hour and 15 minutes. Let's see. Yeah, I think that's kind of all I've got for today, actually. Surprisingly, just one page. Only one page, but the pages are bigger in this new notebook than the last notebook I had. The pages were very little, so it was harder to keep track of them. Any questions? Yeah, it is so terrible. Let's see. Where did you say that shooting happened? In Minneapolis. Awful. Minneapolis shooting update. Minneapolis mass shooting update. At least 2 children unalived, 17 people injured. Oh, it was at a school. For some reason, I was thinking it was like a college. So, yeah, you said Catholic church school in Minneapolis. Wow. An 8-year-old and a 10-year-old. Whoa. Wow. So, yeah, it's reminding me of like Sandy Hook and the one down in Florida. That is insane. And right when school starts back up, how awful. 3 adults were also injured. Yeah, these articles are just like 20 minutes, 30 minutes old. The first week of classes, a former student at the school. So the school was from kindergarten through 8th grade, pre-K through 8th grade. And it was during the all school mass. Dang. So out of control, especially, the way so many of these crazy, horrible incidents happen in Pennsylvania, Texas, California, and Minnesota. Just happens to be the state where Tim Walz is from. Did I say his name right? Tim Walz. I put a T in there. There's no T. And then, Pennsylvania had Governor Shapiro, who was a very likely candidate to be the VP on that Democratic ticket and quite a political rival. Gavin Newsom, of course, California governor, obvious rival of Trumpster fires. And again, I'm just going to keep hammering home the whole thing with Kimberly Guilfoyle, who was married to Governor Newsom for about 5 years, and then was engaged to Trumpster Fire Jr. for about 5 years, and allegedly had an affair with Trumpster Fire Sr., but now is the ambassador of Greece. I just think that there's so much more to the dynamic with Trumpster Fire and Newsom. And I think that it should be addressed. I think that it should be spoken about. That people, it should be like common knowledge about that personal thoroughfare or tie or whatever you want to call it. To me, it's relevant. All these cabinet people are trash. They have no moral compass. Oh my goodness, you guys, you probably saw that cabinet meeting last night that was like 3 hours long, where all they did was like lick boots and other stuff that is more graphic than licking boots. It was so effing crazy. It was so effing crazy. Oh, thank you. This is the honor of my life to be working for the greatest president in the entire universe in all time. It couldn't have been more cringe. It could not have been more cringe. Later, I'll off to catch the 4 p.m. news. Oh, yeah, I'm like, it's 5 p.m. But yeah, you're an hour different from my time. So, yeah, I'm going to sign off too, you guys. Love and light. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you very much. And tomorrow I have an eye exam right around the same time that I like to do my lives. So I will try to do a live tomorrow late, I think, like maybe in the evening. That's what I'll shoot for. Not too late in the evening, because, I start sundowning. So, well, my brain is still sharp, hopefully. Yeah, I'm kind of sundowning right now, huh? Always is the case. So, again, love and light. Thanks for watching, and eat your veggies, eat your protein. Just be you. You do you, boo. And chillax. See you soon.